Someone anonymously writes, I'm struggling with anxiety and my therapist suggested that I do yoga. Is it okay for a Christian to do yoga? I know yoga has its roots in Hinduism, and for some people, it is a religious practice. However, in much of the U.S., yoga can simply be a system of physical postures and breathing techniques. If yoga is practiced as merely exercise, is it okay for a Christian to do yoga? And if it's okay for a Christian to do yoga, is it okay for a child to do yoga? My child will be starting kindergarten next year, and they do yoga at her school. You're absolutely right in saying that yoga does have religious roots in Hinduism. And there is where we need to be careful that we are not entering into practices with Hindus, because for Hindus, many of them, yoga is a form of worship. It's a form of a religious exercise. I'm reminded of some of the scriptures where Paul talks about eating meat offered to idols. That there was a controversy in the Corinthian church about, should I go down to the local butcher shop and buy meat that's been sacrificed to false gods? Is it okay for me to eat that meat? And Paul goes on and talks about how, no other way to describe it, how we can Christianize false practices from false religions. There are many things that we do as Christians today that have their roots in paganism. Christmas holidays, Christmas tree, Halloween. I mean, all the things that culturally have become for us events and holidays, many of them, including Easter, has its roots in paganism. So the question is, can we as Christians Christianize those practices? I know for a fact that there is a form of yoga that is practiced by Christians, and it takes the religious aspect of the Hinduism out of it, and it allows for people to get together and exercise in such a way that it's not threatening to one's religious beliefs. But we do have to be careful. We have to be careful when it comes to two things. On the one side, it's becoming legalistic. We have to be careful not to become legalistic, to condemn people, to judge people who perhaps have done their best to Christianize some of the things that exist today that are pagan, some of the things that are godless. I mean, one would not even invest in the stock market if they held that belief, because there's so many companies that are steeped in practices that Christians would not necessarily agree with. So we have to be careful not to become legalistic about the difficulties of practicing things that have roots in paganism. On the other hand, we need to be careful and we need to be mindful of the fact that there is a way to Christianize certain holidays and certain functions of living in our culture, or certain cultural things that we can use as testimonies for Christ. I know many churches during Halloween season, knowing full well that Halloween is a pagan holiday. On the one hand, there are some Christians who condemn others for even acknowledging Halloween. But on the other hand, there are those who use the occasion to be a testimony. Trunk or treat functions, Christian functions in local churches where you bring people together for a fall festival of some sort, not celebrating the season, but looking for ways to draw people to the foot of the cross and show them Christ. Well, the same is true of yoga. There are many Christian people who use the exercises and the stretching and the breathing exercises, but have nothing to do with the Hinduism aspects of yoga. I don't see anything wrong with that, as long as we're mindful, as long as we're cautious, that we don't slip into something that perhaps has roots in paganism, that we end up worshiping those pagan gods. I hope this is helpful.
Hi, my name is Melissa Weisenfels, Executive Director here at MARKINC Ministries. Thank you so very much for your continued support of this video series. Ask Dr. Betters is not meant to be a substitute for professional counseling, but instead is designed to extract biblical principles around the questions being asked. We encourage you to seek professional counseling if needed.